coming on the air with the president weighing in just a bit ago on the federal judge lifting the mask mandate on public transportation. What he said, plus everyone has a lot of questions about how this will work. So we're going to try to get you some answers. We're live at an airport with new reaction. And officials tell NBC News that the U.S. is preparing to send new aid to Ukraine, just as we're getting the first videos of how Russia is laying out this massive new offensive in the east. Why is the Kremlin so set on changing course? And British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is finally apologizing to Parliament for breaking COVID rules in the early days of the pandemic. But it's not stopping calls for him to resign. Plus, factories in Shanghai are just opening back up. But how much longer can China keep its strict COVID lockdowns? We're live in Beijing with the global impact. And Johnny Depp on the stand today, accusing his ex-wife Amber Heard of lying about allegations of domestic abuse. We'll go inside the courthouse later in the show. Hey there, I'm Stephanie Gosk in for Hallie Jackson, and we're coming on the air just a few hours after the president said it's up to individuals to decide if they want to mask up on planes. It's the first time the president spoke out on the issue after a federal judge threw out the national mandate for public transportation. And today, we've seen city after city throwing out their mask mandates on public transportation, from San Francisco to Houston to New Orleans. The list goes on and on. Confusion, fear, relief, excitement are just some of the reactions to this new ruling. Pretty obvious how the people on this plane felt when they found out. Take a look.
That the Transportation Security Administration will no longer enforce the federal mandate requiring masks in all U.S. airports and on-board aircraft.
Finally! Definitely some happiness there, but across the country, uncertainty remains about when and where masks are required. Multiple major airlines and transit systems now say they're optional. And that's where things get tricky, because there are different rules from state to state. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey wants to keep masks in New York, but lift the mandate in New Jersey. And that's just one example out of many that's causing confusion. Morgan Chesky is following the story tonight from the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. Morgan, it's nice to see you. You know, let's start first with trying to clarify some of this confusion. The federal mask mandate in public transportation is now over, at least for now. But that doesn't mean all mask mandates are tossed out. What should people do who are potentially traveling this week?
Steph, they should be paying attention, because it does depend on how you're getting from point A to point B. If you are flying, like here in DFW Airport, the second largest in the country, well, TSA says you're no longer enforced to have to put that mask on whenever you go through security. And those domestic carriers, as you mentioned, say you don't have to wear one when you go on board a plane. However, let's say you take a city transit to get to the airport. They might still be requiring you to mask up. So right now, a little confusion happening over the next couple days. If you do like to be better safe than sorry, you certainly are within your rights to mask up. However, you won't be required to do so unless you are potentially on a city or some sort of municipal public transit that is keeping that requirement in place. So double check. But worst case scenario, just go ahead and put your mask on if you're unsure. Steph?
Yeah, and Morgan, I'm sure, definitely have one in your pocket. We're coming off a big holiday weekend. TSA says more than 2 million people passed through airports yesterday. What are the travelers saying there in Dallas?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Whether or not they are for or against masking, everyone kind of felt like, that we've spoken to at least, that this was inevitable at some point sooner than later, even with that extension that was pushed until May 3rd, that now doesn't appear to be the case with this recent ruling from the district judge in Florida. We had a chance to hear from people on both sides and just hear them in their own words. Take a listen.
I think most of the rest of us, including myself, I'm not worried about it. I've had COVID, I've been vaxxed, I've been boosted.
I think it's a little premature. Working in the health field, I think we're seeing a lot of spikes in the variants, especially in Chicago, where I'm from. We're seeing a lot of issues. So.
At the end of the day, I guess I should say, it's again preference. If you can't control what the others are doing around you, you can control yourself and your health.
Yes, and that woman pretty much nailed it. For those we spoke to who would like to see that mask mandate continued, they're still masking up, and they'll continue to do so for the near future until they have the necessary peace of mind. Steph?
You know, Morgan, it's interesting because you have this decision to push the mask mandate to May 3rd coming from the Biden administration, and then you have the president coming out today saying people should opt in or opt out depending on what they feel like. It sort of undercuts his message a little bit, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And at last check, NBC News is reporting that the president has not directly communicated with the CDC following this judge's ruling. And it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out going forward. Of course, the Biden administration can still appeal this. There is potential discussion, while it hasn't actually been put out into action yet, that should numbers trend back up, the Biden administration could certainly appeal at that point in time. But as of right now, there has been no direct action to appeal this by the White House. Steph?
Yeah, and of course that appeal could end up at the Supreme Court at some point. So we'll have to watch that. Thanks, Morgan. We appreciate it. We'll have a lot more on the pandemic later in the show, including what all this means for the confidence in the CDC, the agency tasked with recommending the use of masks and vaccines. And does it tie their hands in the future? But for now, let's turn to Ukraine, which is about to get another massive military package from the U.S., with 3 officials telling NBC News it could be similar in size to the $800 million one that the Biden administration announced last week. That's as we're learning more about Russia's new phase in the war. A senior U.S. defense official is calling it the, quote, prelude to a large offensive. This map that we're going to show you gives us an idea of where Moscow's opening up this new front. The Ukrainian military says Russia's putting as much force as it can along this 300-mile-long path in the east. And you can see they're coming from the north, the south, and the east. They're trying to get that important land route to Crimea, which Russia controls. Here's video we got of Russian tanks moving into Donetsk. Local officials there say they've been hit by 17 new strikes. One of Ukraine's military leaders say that any so-called green corridors to evacuate people from the Donbass region have been abolished. Ali Arouzi is in Lviv for us tonight. Ali, nice to see you. What makes this battleground in the east different for the Russians, and what's the strategy behind all of this?
Hi, Stephanie. Well, look, as Ukrainians always keep saying, this is a battle that's being fought since 2014. This didn't start on February 24th of this year, and it's been pivotal to the Russians. They keep saying that they want to liberate the Russian-speaking population there, and that's why they've been hitting it so hard in that region. And as you just mentioned, it's also very strategic to the Russians. It's part of that joining the Russian mainland to Crimea and creating that land corridor to the entire Donbass, Luhansk and Donetsk region. So it's very important for them to try and get that area. But even though they've been there since 2014, even though they've thrown so much armament and troops into that area, and they do control large swathes of it, they haven't been able to take the entire area yet.
Isn't this an area of Ukraine where Russia sees more support generally, and has that shifted at all in the last 7 or 8 weeks?
Well, they did. Traditionally, they did have a lot of support there, especially, before the invasion in 2014 and after it. But they've lost a lot of support there because they've made very little distinction between the Russian speakers there. They've been bombing them relentlessly. So that wave of opinion from the Ukrainian Russian speakers has turned against Russia. They see themselves as a target in that area because the Russians are willing to do whatever it takes to take that area and even hurt the people that once supported them. So they've lost an enormous amount of support in that area, and they don't have that sort of backing that they traditionally once had there.
Do you think, Ali, that this new focus could potentially help Vladimir Putin deflect attention from some of his pretty obvious failures to capture Kiev and topple the Ukrainian government?
It's definitely part of the strategy, Stephanie. Look, I mean, the attack on Kyiv and its surroundings was an abject failure. The Russians thought that they would just sail into Kyiv, Zelensky would run away. That didn't happen. They were forced into an embarrassing retreat. So this is very important for the Russians in that area to claim a victory. And they're trying very hard to get that area. We spoke to the governor of Luhansk earlier today. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Visually, Russians can't be seen, of course, because when we see Russians, we kill them because they're invaders. But talking about the shelling, there are no settlements in Luhansk region which weren't shelled, and where you can't hear the shelling, which is underway in all the cities.
So, as you mentioned, they're attacking a 300-mile line from the south of the country all the way up to the north to Kharkiv, which has also been very badly hit. That area is being bombed relentlessly by the Russians, which shows how much they want to get that area. But the Ukrainians have also sent their best troops to defend that region.
You know, Ali, just quickly, while I've got you, I know that there were some explosions in Lviv recently. Has it been quiet there today?
It has been quiet here today. No air raid sirens went on, but yesterday really shook this place up. It was the first time there were any fatalities. 7 people were killed in Lviv yesterday. So that sense of security here has greatly diminished.
Well, thank you for your time, and please stay safe. Thanks, Ali. President Biden is hitting the road this week to sell that bipartisan infrastructure plan, even though it's already been the law for months now. So why try to sell something that's already been passed? Well, it's part of a push to get out of Washington and tell voters about his party's accomplishments ahead of the midterms. He was in Portsmouth, New Hampshire today. Thursday, he'll be in Portland, Oregon, and Friday in Seattle, trying to reassure voters as rising prices keep going higher. But some members of his own party are skeptical, saying that the infrastructure law alone is not enough to win votes in November. Senator Elizabeth Warren, writing in a New York Times op-ed, if we fail to use the months remaining before the elections to deliver on more of our agenda, Democrats are headed toward big losses in the midterms. Joining me now is Mike Memley. Mike, why this big push now on a law he passed last fall?
Well, Stephanie, when you talk to White House officials about the president's political predicament at the moment, and you get more forthcoming responses, you really get 2 answers for it. The first, of course, is inflation, is the price at the pump, some of the more short-term challenges that they see as a result of, as the president again called it today, Putin's price hike, the situation in Ukraine. But the real challenge that the White House also sees is that so much of the year 2021 was spent with Democrats fighting among themselves, frustrated with the inability to get the larger Build Back Better agenda passed. The sausage making was too much of the conversation, and no one was telling the positive story, especially as White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain sees it. If you're not telling your own good news, no one is. And so that's why you're seeing the president hitting the road this week in a way we really haven't seen him throughout his entire presidency. 3 separate events over the course of the week, all important political states to talk about what they've done. Now, quietly behind the scenes, there is work being done on a package that could move through in the next few months, but the White House has sort of a Fight Club mentality. We don't talk about what's happening in these negotiations. We want to talk about what we've done instead.
So they're on the good news tour. You know, we should note the significance of New Hampshire. Biden never campaigned there in 2020, and now he's been there twice in 5 months. Is that a sign that the White House sees some vulnerabilities in some major races there this year, Mike?
Yeah, Stephanie, the last time I was here in New Hampshire with President Biden, he was racing out of the state the day he ended up finishing 5th in the New Hampshire primary. As you say, he didn't return for the general election. He won this state by 8 points against Donald Trump. But when the president's approval rating is where it is now, a state like that is one that is very much more in play. And so you saw him today, it's notable, standing alongside Senator Maggie Hassan, who's facing a tough bid for a 2nd term in the Senate. Also, Chris Pappas, the congressman from this district, district, which is one of the swingiest districts in the country, bounced back and forth between a Republican and Democrat every term in the 2010s. And so these are races that might be in safer situation if the president's approval rating was higher, but they are much more in play. But at the moment, the two candidates here are willing to appear with the president. The question is, will other Democrats in even tougher races be willing to do so, especially when we get closer to November?
Well, Mike, it looks windy and freezing there in Portsmouth today. Get yourself inside and get some coffee. Thanks so much for your time. Lawyers for Patrick Lyoya say today that an autopsy confirms that Lyoya, a black refugee from the Democratic Republic of Congo, was shot in the back of the head by a Michigan police officer.
And confirm that Patrick Lyoya was shot in the back of his head. That is now scientific evidence of this tragic killing and what his family believes was an execution.
The autopsy was commissioned by Lyoya's family and legal team and performed by forensic pathologist Werner Spitz, who is known for his work looking into the deaths of President John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., and John Benet Ramsey, to name a few. The finding matches what was seen last week on video released by the Grand Rapids police chief. Video which, we want to warn you, you may find disturbing. Lyoya was shot following a traffic stop on April 4th. He and the unnamed officer struggled on the ground before the 26-year-old was killed. You're looking at the early moments of that stop. Lyoya wasn't armed, although the officer was heard on video demanding that he take his hand off a police taser. That officer is on leave pending the outcome of a state police investigation. Shaquille Brewster now joins me on this story. Shaq, you know, we're still waiting for the official autopsy report, but what do today's findings tell us about what we may expect from it?
Yeah, we will not get that official autopsy report from the medical examiner until the investigation into the shooting is complete. So that's why you had the Lyoya family attorney coming out and presenting their own findings based on that private autopsy investigation. And you mentioned the main headline from that presser that we saw earlier today. They said that Patrick Lyoya was shot in the back of his head during that altercation. They said it was a quick death for Patrick Lyoya, and that the officer pressed his gun in the head as the bullet was being fired. Again, this is a private autopsy that was done by someone hired by the family attorney, a world-renowned forensic pathologist there. So those were the headlines that we got from the family attorney as they went through the autopsy findings. Again, we will not know the official findings for a little bit of time.
You know, besides the autopsy, the Lyoya family attorneys also said for the first time his death appears to be a, quote, classic case of being targeted for driving while black. You know, you hear in the video, he's told that he's being stopped because his license plate doesn't match the vehicle. We don't have a lot of context for those comments. Why are they calling it a classic case of being stopped driving while black, Shaq?
Yeah, that was a point that Benjamin Crump, the family attorney, made repeatedly during the press conference. He said that at the beginning of the dash cam video, you see the officer make a U-turn and that the plates were on the back of the vehicle. So his point was that he believes the officer stopped or pulled over Lyoya before he had a chance to run the plates. You see in the moments that you're watching of that video right now, the officer is explaining the reason why he made the stop was because the plates did not match the vehicle that the plates were on. The one thing to note, I went back to look at that body cam or the dash cam video, and it's not clear exactly what's going on, but Benjamin Crump kind of said that was part of the point. They only have access to the video that has been made public. They have suspicions. They say there's more investigation to be done, but they want more access to the original video and the full versions of the video that have not been manipulated, that have not been blurred out in a way that you're seeing right now. They want to have that at their disposal as they go through their own investigation, and that's one of the suspicions, one of the preliminary conclusions almost you can say he's reaching based on what he's seen so far of that police release video.
All right, Jack. You know, there have been protests calling for justice in this case. You also met with the Lyoya family recently. What has been their reaction to today's news? What is their message right now?
Well, they were not at the press conference, and if you saw any bit of that press conference, you can get an understanding of why. They went through in raw detail how their son was killed. But in my conversation with them last week, they talked about the heartbreak that they feel, how his mother told me that she misses his presence, she misses hearing his voice. The father saying that he was the soldier of the family and that he was supposed to be the one to take care of everyone. We know that his funeral arrangements are set for Friday. That is when he will be officially laid to rest. And you mentioned the protests. We saw protests throughout the weekend in Grand Rapids. No word on if those will continue into this week and beyond this week.
All right, well, thanks for following all of it as usual, Shaq. Nice to see you. Take care. Turning now to Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis is stepping up his fight against Disney after the company opposed his law restricting schools from teaching about sexual orientation and gender identity. The governor calling on the legislature this morning to strip Disney of self-government power, special status that allows the company to operate as an independent government around its Orlando area theme park. The change comes just hours before lawmakers return to Tallahassee for a special session to finalize new congressional maps.
They will be considering the congressional map, but they also will be considering termination of all special districts that were enacted in Florida prior to 1968, and that includes the Reedy Creek Improvement District.
Governor DeSantis says it will look at what he says would be evening the playing field for everybody. So far, Disney has not yet responded. Kerry Sanders joins me now to talk about all of this. Kerry, it looks like we're no longer talking about the happiest place on earth, are we? What would stripping its special status do to the company?
Well, it will cost them money. It will cost them bureaucracy. I mean, most people in the state of Florida, unless you live in the Orlando area, you don't even know what the Reedy Creek Improvement District is, because while it is a government agency set up back in 1967 that ultimately allowed for the development of Disney World, it's not really the kind of government that people are aware of, pay attention to. Disney World's about 40 square miles, and the Reedy Creek Improvement District is the government responsible for that area, the EMS. If they need to put out taxes, or if they need to put out a bond, for instance, they can do a municipal bond. To give you an idea how big that area is, it's about the size of San Francisco. It is a big city. So since 1967, and really this was the lure that the government here in Florida did to have Walt Disney build the theme park there, this Reedy Creek Improvement District has existed. But now the governor here is taking on that special status, not because other theme parks or businesses have been complaining that why do they have this special treatment, they shouldn't have it, but rather because Disney decided that they were going to take on what the critics call the Don't Say Gay bill, what is really called the Parental Rights and Education bill, which stated, and I'll give you word for word, classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate, which those critics say means that it could extend further all the way through high school. And so this debate has formed because initially Bob Chapek, the CEO, said very little about this law. Then the Disney employees started complaining and protesting. And then he came out and said, no, we will oppose the Florida, what again the critics call the Don't Say Gay bill. We will oppose that, and we will help either in the legislature with lobbyists, or we will help when it gets to court to try to strike this down. And that's when Republican Governor Ron DeSantis decided, and he said, I don't need a California company, talking about the executives in California, bringing California ideals to the state of Florida. And that's where we are now, where the governor made the threat, and now he's living up to it at this special session, saying that he is going to try to strip their special status, again, with this Reedy Creek Improvement District. And it's likely, I mean, it's hard to predict what the legislature will do, but this is a Republican majority. So the governor would not be doing this if he did not believe with some backdoor phone calling to find out whether the support is there to begin with. Stephanie?
You know, Kerry, this controversial law aside, what do people in Florida think about the fact that Disney has this special status? It's almost like, we were talking about it earlier today with the producers, it's almost like the Vatican status in Rome. I mean, were people aware? Are they happy about that status?
I don't think most people are aware. Look, I lived in Orlando. I graduated high school there. I'm aware of it. But honestly, the way most people would know about the way a government functions is they would probably complain about things that don't work. And so the building department out there at Disney seems to work fine. You don't hear about buildings collapsing. The roads that they have to build, the roads work. So I'm not so much sure that this is really criticism of their special status and how the government operates. Rather, it's more about this issue of the parental rights in education, or as the opponents call it, the Don't Say Gay bill. But if you were a business in the state of Florida and you want to have that special status, you don't have it. And the only ones who have it is back in 1967, granted to Disney. So some people would say it's just not fair. But that is not what is leading this effort to take away their status. This is really all about politics, Stephanie.
Yeah, it sounds a lot just like political retribution to me. All right, Carrie, thank you very much. Coming up, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson facing lawmakers for the first time since he was fined for his role in what's been called the Partygate scandal. We've got the latest from London. Plus, a tough day for Netflix after its earnings reports came out. Shares have dropped, and so have subscribers. We'll explain in the 5 Things. Boris Johnson came face-to-face with British lawmakers today, formally apologizing for getting fined by police for having a party that broke his own government's COVID lockdown rules. It's his first time speaking in Parliament since getting and paying a $66 fine last week for attending his own surprise birthday party in Downing Street last summer. But while he did apologize, he maintained that he didn't realize the party was against the rules.
It did not occur to me then or subsequently that a gathering in the Cabinet room just before a vital meeting on COVID strategy could amount to a breach of the rules. I apologise for it unreservedly.
It may have only been a $66 fine, but Johnson has been under a lot of pressure since this all came out, getting multiple calls to resign because of these parties in 2020 and 2021. Remember, this was a time when millions in the UK weren't allowed to meet with friends or family because of COVID. Some weren't even able to go for funerals of their loved ones. Ron Allen is with me now from London. Ron, a lot of people have been waiting to hear from the Prime Minister. What's your takeaway from this apology today?
Well, I think we saw the broad outlines of the fight that's going to go on for some time now, because the police are still investigating more than half a dozen other gatherings, some of which Boris Johnson was at. There's a government official who is also doing an investigation. Her preliminary report said things like there were many things that were allowed to take place that should not have. There was excessive alcohol consumption. There was a failure of leadership at many of these events that happened during this time of lockdown. So I think we're going to hear the Prime Minister apologize, kind of, as he did then. And he's also going to try and focus the nation on other things, that he is the leader, especially a wartime leader now. He talked a lot about Ukraine. And remember, about a week or so ago, he made this very high-profile trip to Kyiv, where he met with Ukraine's president right there in the middle of the city. So he's trying to focus the nation on those kinds of things. Meanwhile, his opponents are going to hammer at him. Here's some of what the Labour leader had to say, the opposition party in Parliament. Take a listen.
Even now, as the latest mealy-mouthed apology stumbles out of one side of his mouth, a new set of deflections and distortions pour from the other. The public have made up their mind. Yes. They don't believe a word the Prime Minister says.
Well, there you have it. And there's question time coming up, which is also always entertaining here, or usually entertaining. So it's a big issue, and because it plays into this narrative of Boris Johnson being this sort of unorthodox figure. And again, a lot of these parties were happening, alleged parties were happening, when the rest of the country was locked down, COVID, as you were pointing out. People couldn't attend funerals. Weddings were canceled. The laws that the government put in place at the time forbid gatherings of more than one or two people. And here he is at the seat of government, and there are some pictures that support this, doing things that just seem to be a bit rogue.
Well, let me ask you, Ron, is it a purely political situation there where it's his opponents going after him and supporters saying, let's move on to Ukraine? Or do you get the sense from the British public that this do as I say, not as I do is upsetting them regardless of their political persuasions?
I think that's exactly the problem that the Prime Minister faces, is that this is something that everybody can relate to because everybody was so affected by COVID. And the restrictions were so tight and onerous. And there was a lot of opposition to that, not just here, but around the world. Everybody suffered through this. And so the fact that the Prime Minister is being called for his behavior in such an environment, that's a tough one. The other marker ahead are local elections that happen here next month in May. And depending upon how the Tories, the Conservatives do in those local elections, that also could could determine the fate of the Prime Minister. Again, he's got a lot of tests ahead. This is not going away anytime soon.
All right. Well, there were certainly some politicians in this country that had it go away, thankfully, but it doesn't sound like it's happening for him. Ron Allen, thank you so much. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, explosions targeting schools in Afghanistan have killed at least 6 people and hurt almost a dozen others. It happened in the capital city, Kabul. Officials are investigating the blasts, and no one has claimed responsibility yet. Number 2, more than 1 million arrests have been made at the U.S.-Mexico border in the last 6 months. Officials say it's the fastest pace of illegal border crossings in the last 2 decades. This comes as the Biden administration prepares to lift a Trump-era policy that allows border agents to quickly turn away people trying to enter the country. Number 3, a judge denied the request to lower the bond for the parents of a Michigan teen accused of a fatal school shooting last year. James and Jennifer Crumbly have been locked up since December and haven't been able to come up with $500,000 each to leave custody. They're awaiting trial on involuntary manslaughter charges. Number 4, employees at a New York Apple store are trying to unionize. Workers at the Grand Central location are collecting signatures to file a petition calling their efforts, quote, Fruit Stand Workers United. They say they're looking for higher wages to keep up with the cost of living. Apple hasn't commented on the organizing efforts just yet. Number 5, Netflix announcing after the closing bell on Wall Street today that it lost 200,000 subscribers in the first quarter of the year. It's the first time it's seen a drop in paid users in over 10 years. The news drove shares in the company's stock down over 20% in after-hours trading. And still to come, vaccine experts from around the world come together to talk about what comes after the fight against COVID. We'll tell you the biggest risks they see for the future. Plus, Shanghai's strict lockdown raising some serious supply chain concerns for China. The latest from Beijing right after the break. Could a lawsuit have Marjorie Taylor Greene taken off the ballot in her upcoming primary? The lawmaker says she's not going down without a fight. Not surprising. More coming a little later in the show. And some good news on the COVID front today. Moderna saying trials show its redesigned vaccines can better fight against variants. The CDC says current Moderna and Pfizer vaccines protect most people from hospitalization and death, but that effectiveness can wane over several months. Scientists are now racing to figure out how to redesign the shots in time for new boosters to be made over the summer. And researchers combined Moderna's existing vaccine with one designed to attack the Beta variant and found it provided a much stronger defense. The vaccine news comes as experts around the world gathered in Washington, D.C. today to discuss how to prepare for future viral outbreaks. Our Erica Edwards joins us from the World Vaccine Congress. Erica, nice to see you. This is the first time all these researchers have met in person since the pandemic began. What's been at the top of their agenda?
Hey, Stephanie, you know, trying to stay a little step ahead or maybe not too far behind these coronavirus variants has been a major topic of discussion. The mRNA vaccines work really well. They're safe, they're effective, but they just don't last as long as doctors would have hoped for. I talked with the conference's chairman this morning, Dr. Greg Poland. He is with the Mayo Clinic. He said that building and developing a durable vaccine moving forward is going to be key. Here's what he had to say.
We have second and third generation vaccines coming. We need to know the attributes of those. One of the most pressing questions is, are the current vaccines we have going to be effective against ever-changing variants? And how long? That is, what is the durability of that protection or that immunity?
So this morning at the conference, Moderna's chief medical officer, Paul Burton, said that he suspects the Omicron subvariants, BA2, 3, 4, et cetera, will be major players this fall. That's why, as he mentioned, his company and others are working to reformulate their vaccine. Stephanie?
You know, Erica, this issue of durability is so important, right? Because isn't that the big issue in trying to get these vaccines out to people around the world, not just to people here in the U.S.?
That's exactly right. And here in the U.S., we have about 66% of the U.S. population fully vaccinated. Less than half have been boosted. Compare that, though, to low-income countries, where just about 15% of people there have had even just one dose of vaccine. The scientists here told me today that vaccine equity is going to be critically important as they prepare for a possible next pandemic down the road. Stephanie?
You know, Eric, I want to turn to masks quickly because it's all anyone's talking about here. And you now look at the prospect of the CDC having its wings dramatically clipped because of this federal court ruling. Is anyone talking about it there? Are there concerns that the CDC's ability to fight another virus or a changing COVID virus, that could potentially be harmed?
You know, the CDC can certainly make recommendations based on what they think is in the best interest of the general public. Of course, now we've learned that those recommendations, those mandates can be overturned by federal judges. I haven't heard a lot of discussion here at the conference today, but I'll tell you, I was sitting in a room with about 1,000 of these vaccine experts and infectious diseases experts this morning. There was a surprising number of them were not wearing a mask. Stephanie?
It's interesting to note for sure. Thanks, Erica. Thanks for being there. The Chinese manufacturing partner for Volkswagen and General Motors just restarted production at its Shanghai location today. They're resuming one-shift production at the Lingang plant and hope to gradually bring output back to normal levels if supply chains remain stable. It's a big step, though, because the city of 26 million is still under a strict COVID lockdown that's lasted over 2 weeks and led to some major labor shortages. This return to work comes as people in Shanghai are seriously pushing back on how they've had to live for the last few weeks, forced testing, tracing, and centrally quarantining all positive cases and anyone who's been in close contact with them. It's fallout from China's decision to stick with their zero COVID strategy, even as the rest of the world opens up. Janice Mackey-Frere is here with me now from Beijing. Janice, great to see you. You know, we're seeing some parts of Shanghai open up, but most people are still on lockdown. What's it like right now in that city? It looks terrible.
Well, there are a few signs that the lockdown is easing in any significant way for a vast majority of people in the city. Most are still confined to their homes. Some are able to walk around their apartment compounds, but they're still struggling to get food. There's still mass testing, and there is still no rhythm to daily life. Most people are still having to rely on these group supply chains that they've built in their own communities in order to procure anything. And it's a full-time job. We talked to somebody who is working with her neighbors to get everything from fruit to medicine. They stay up all night. They find vendors online. They arrange the deliveries. They do the offloading and the distribution. And this is happening on a citywide scale. scale because there have been flaws exposed in the official system when the government took over food distribution. Videos on social media showing piles of produce that are being scooped up and put into the garbage because it's gone to waste. It had been sent from other cities, but it hadn't made it the final mile to the people who actually need it. Shift to business, and it's a little bit different because there is a push by the government here to try to get industry up and running again. Companies like Tesla are able to ramp up production, but there are a lot of rules attached to this. In most cases, the workers are having to live on site, Stephanie. So you have like this Olympic bubble type arrangement where the workers are having to live and sleep at the factories in order to keep those shifts going. And as you said, for most people in Shanghai, there is still this concern about testing positive. Every positive case goes into the system. It's less a fear of getting sick than getting sucked up into the mass quarantine system or mandatory hospital stays that is keeping this city from getting back on track.
You know, Janice, you mentioned the government's focus on trying to get the trade up and running. You know, the U.S. imported more goods from China than anywhere else in the world over the last 10 years. Give us a sense of what you think this lockdown means for us here in the U.S. and the rest of the world that depends so heavily on China.
Well, to an extent, experts are saying that buckle up. Shanghai is a major trade hub. It's a center for the automotive and electronics industries. 20% of China's exports go through Shanghai's port, and nothing is moving. Businesses have been closed. Manufacturing has been slowed down. They're in trying to get things ramped up again. The problem is less at Shanghai's port. It's on the roads. A lot of roads are closed because of the lockdowns around Shanghai, and there's a shortage of truck drivers here. The truck drivers don't want to undergo the rigorous mandatory COVID testing. They don't want to risk being quarantined by going into Shanghai. So stuff just isn't making it from warehouses to the port. And then at the port, there's very little that's actually going out to sea. A lot of goods, too, are having to be diverted to other ports. We talked to one manufacturer earlier who said he's having problems with consolidation of actually getting goods into shipping containers. So all of that is going to have this domino effect, this ripple effect down the line, which could ultimately lead to less inventory and higher prices in the U.S.
All right, Janice McIntyre, live for us in Beijing. Thank you so much. Still ahead, police arrest a suspect in a fire that completely destroyed a Home Depot in California. Those details coming up in The Local. We've got some late-breaking details on the lawsuit moving forward against Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. What she says is her next move. Johnny Depp takes the stand in the legal battle against his ex-wife, Amber Heard. His response to her allegations of abuse coming up in a bit. But first, NBC News covers hundreds of stories each day. And because you couldn't possibly read, watch, or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. From our West Coast Bureau, the man suspected of starting a massive fire at a Home Depot in San Jose, California, has been charged with aggravated arson and theft. It happened earlier this month and took more than 100 firefighters about 12 hours to put out. Investigators are still looking through debris to figure out how exactly that fire started. And from our Northeast Bureau, some drivers on a New York City expressway, look at these pictures, were rescued overnight after heavy rains and floods stranded them. Officials had shut down part of the highway. Cars were able to get back on the road today. And out of our Southeast Bureau, over 200 Texas state troopers have to slim down by the end of the year, or they could face problems at work. It's because of a controversial policy that says men and women over a certain waistline size have to track and share their weight loss efforts. If they don't, they could be denied promotions, overtime, and pulled off their duties. Less barbecue, more salad. Turning now to Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is appealing a ruling late tonight from a federal judge in Georgia that allows a lawsuit challenging her reelection bid to go forward. The suit claims that she can't run for office again because of her alleged role in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. It says her language helped incite the violence. Greene denies the allegations, but it means that there's a possibility that her name will be missing from the state's primary ballot next month. Vaughn Hilliard explains.
Now they're coming after me to remove my name off the ballot.
On Friday, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican Congresswoman from Georgia, is set to face questions under oath about her involvement in the January 6th insurrection. That hearing could potentially lead the court to prevent her from running for re-election.
We aren't going to let this election be stolen by Joe Biden and the Democrats. This is our 1776 moment.
Greene has consistently promoted the lie that the 2020 presidential election was stolen and found an ally in former President Trump along the way.
We're going to send our favorite president right back where he belongs, in the White House.
But a group of Georgia voters, represented by a legal advocacy group, filed a challenge to her candidacy, citing a section of the 14th Amendment that says no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress engaged in insurrection or rebellion or given aid or comfort to the enemies. The group's legal director.
The evidence shows that Marjorie Taylor Greene, in the days leading up to January 6th, played a significant role in facilitating the events of that day.
Greene tried to stop the challenge, but a federal judge on Monday, in a 73-page report, cleared the way for the case to be heard this Friday. Greene, subpoenaed to testify, will face questions under oath about the extent of her involvement.
But what does that mean, participation in an insurrection? There's not a lot of case law in that area.
The levers of power in Washington, D.C. are controlled by dark forces.
Just last month, a federal judge in North Carolina blocked a similar effort to remove Madison Cawthorn, another Republican member of Congress, from the ballot this year.
The federal judge in Georgia who's being asked to decide whether this Georgia proceeding can go forward wasn't very compelled by the decision in the Cawthorn case.
Greene's office and her lawyer have not responded to NBC News for comment, but she has denied involvement in the violence on January 6th. And late Tuesday, Greene appealed the judge's ruling to the 11th Circuit.
Who will ultimately make this case whether Marjorie Taylor Greene is on the ballot?
That administrative law judge won't have the final word. Either party can appeal a final order into the Georgia state courts. And so there could be a proceeding going all the way up to the Georgia Supreme Court, which one suspects will have the final say.
Vaughn joins me now. Vaughn, what is the burden of proof in this case to prove that she has engaged in the insurrection? Is that what they have to do?
Right. Now, the judge in this case has made it clear that the burden of proof lies with the voters and this legal advocacy group that is representing them. Essentially, it's going to be the onus is on them to provide the evidence and make the case that Greene, quote, engaged in insurrection. Now, the court will have to decide, does that evidence lend enough credence to this idea that she was, quote, engaged in insurrection? That is what the court will ultimately have to decide.
So, Vaughn, Greene filed this appeal late today. What does that mean, and could that affect Friday's proceedings?
Right. As of right now, that hearing on Friday morning is still slated to take place when Greene is supposed to be testifying under oath. But what we saw here just about an hour ago was the appeal by Greene's team to the 11th Circuit, the Court of Appeals. Now it's going to be up to the Court of Appeals to essentially back up the lower court and suggest that Greene should stand before a state court to have this be determined. Or in the case of what we saw in North Carolina with Cawthorn, there was the federal judge there who cited this 1872 law by Congress that essentially granted immunity to Confederacy leaders in order to be able to run for Congress in the future. Now, the judge in that case provided that immunity to Cawthorn, essentially suggesting it was not just the Civil War, but all future insurrections. Stephanie?
Great that we're citing Civil War law in this discussion, but that's where we are. Vaughn Hilliard, thanks so much.
Thanks.
After the break, the latest twist in a high-profile case. Johnny Depp takes the stand in the defamation trial against his ex-wife, Amber Heard. What the actor had to say, straight ahead. Johnny Depp is calling the allegations his ex-wife Amber Heard made against him, quote, heinous and disturbing. When he took the witness stand today in a Virginia courtroom, he says Heard is lying about abuse she claims she faced during their marriage. That testimony wrapping up just as we came on the air tonight. Depp says his goal in this defamation trial against his ex is the truth, for his sake and for his family's. Listen.
Never did I myself reach the point of striking Ms. Heard in any way. It's very strange when one day you're Cinderella, so to speak, and then in 0.6 seconds you're Quasimodo.
Depp is suing Heard for $50 million over an op-ed she wrote after their divorce about being a domestic abuse survivor. Heard didn't mention Depp by name, but his lawyers say the piece ruined his reputation anyway. Heard is countersuing Depp for $100 million. A spokesperson for Heard says so far in the trial, Depp's witnesses haven't been able to prove that the actor didn't abuse her. Steve Patterson is following this trial for us. Steve, cameras in the courtroom. We get to see Johnny Depp on the stand. High drama. You know, during his opening statements, the lawyer said Heard ruined Depp's reputation by lying about him for, quote, her own personal benefit. How did they go about trying to prove that today?
I think it was setting up the groundwork, all about establishing Johnny Depp in the context of this trial as his own character on his own terms. The defense essentially allowing him to tell his entire life story, right, from his childhood to moving to Hollywood to meeting Amber Heard. And when you have an international superstar, it's easy to do that. He's charismatic. He was intelligent. You can tell he's very thoughtful. He has this poetic way of speaking that he kind of blends together with the smile that he flashes every once in a while, all seemingly very orchestrated, but also when you have a guy like Depp, very natural. And then taking all of that material, right, and essentially saying to the jury, this isn't the kind of guy that would beat a woman, while later in the testimony kind of painting and setting up Heard as somebody who was imbalanced, who all of a sudden became this antagonist in the story that they established and set up through Depp's testimony. It was all about setting up that groundwork today, Stephanie.
Well, to that point, Steve, he said that she had become, in his words, quote, a different person. What did he mean by that, and why is that so important for him to establish in this trial?
Again, all part of the character building for Depp. He describes how taken he was, how enamored he was with her at the beginning of the relationship, how well they fit together as partners, how much they appreciated the same things together, and then how all of a sudden all of these routines that they established slowly started to break down until he describes a completely different person on that stand. And we really haven't gotten to that point yet, but we certainly assuredly will be, you know, and then establishing that she was trying to undermine him and belittle him at almost every turn. And the way he tells that story, the way it's set up, whether that's either truthfully or if everything is completely fabricated, you can't help but feel bad for both of them, or especially the guy that's telling the story, which is Depp. And I think that's the idea that they're trying to get across to the jury, again, establishing him as this person that was put upon despite, you know, his best wishes. Steph?
Well, Steve, you're a good guy, obviously with a big heart. Thanks for your take. Feeling bad for everyone involved. I love that. Take care. That's a wrap for this hour. We'll have more for you here tomorrow, same time, same place. Coverage picks up right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.